What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tactical Foul. I'm Kyle Grew. As always, no matter how sick of me you are, you're going to keep dealing with me. But I have great guests. I have a very special guest, a very special friend of mine. She's an absolute baller. I think she's technically a senior at Limestone. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. Striker, very good friend, like I said. Former unbelievable kicker for football. So, the Vanderbilt kicker, Ashbro is first. But big, big fan of her and all the great things that she's doing. But everybody, welcome Ashton Brooks.
Hey, guys. Glad to be on today.
All right. How's everything going? You're in a state that's not actually locked down, so that's pretty nice, I imagine.
Yes. So actually, I was just at home for winter break. I was back in Michigan, got to kind of see the family and that sort of stuff. But obviously, we were on lockdown out there, so it was kind of harder to get out to train and get out to do stuff. But now I'm back in South Carolina. Like you said, we're not on lockdown. So we had a couple events, for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And now I can get back into the kind of swing of things and get ready for school this semester, my last semester.
For now, right? For now.
For now, right. For undergrad.
For undergrad, fair enough. So before we get into all of that, all the stuff with college, it wasn't this you go club, high school, college, right? You took a little bit of a different club, college, not that college.
Yeah. So soccer has kind of been my thing since I was like 4 years old, I
Right.
swear. And I started with Midland Fusion. That was my first travel team, my hometown, close to you, out in Bay City. And then I, went to high school. I did maybe 2 years playing high school soccer and played travel soccer all year round. Joined Waza. Once Waza wasn't a club anymore, that became Nationals. So I played, for Nationals Tri-Cities and then down south with Nationals Union. So I got a couple different coaching experiences. I got a couple different team experiences. I was a little bit farther from home down at Union. And then I signed on to play at Northwood University. I was a striker there, started as a freshman. I was there for about 2.5 years. Took off the semester of my junior year. I kind of just wanted some more time to think, about my options, see what I wanted to do further with my career. And I ended up transferring out in January of 2020 to Limestone University. Well, Limestone College at the time, now Limestone University. I've been there for about a year. I haven't really gotten to play a competitive season yet just because of COVID and everything going on. So we had one spring game in March and I got to play in. I started, scored a goal. But, I'm just looking forward to this spring semester. It's my last year, like I said, at undergrad and my first real semester kind of getting to play with Limestone University. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I kind of definitely took a different route when it came to soccer experiences and teams.
So what is that transfer portal like? I mean, obviously we hear about it in the news and different things like that, but that's Division 1, which is like I think most things in any college sports is everything's different when you drop down, right? Like Division 1's different than Division 2, everything's different. So
Right.
what's it like in that transfer portal though?
So I was very scared. I'm not going to lie to you. When I came back from my internship in Virginia Beach over the summer and I decided, I wanted a different experience than Northwood, I was very stressed, very scared. I kind of talked to my mom about it and we didn't know what to do. Right. So the first step that I took was we went and talked to, the admissions counselor and my head of compliance at Northwood and kind of sat down and had a conversation with her and my head coach at the time. And they kind of explained to me the rules and regulations for the Division 2 level, the GLIAC conference, which Northwood is in. And like you said, it is different though. Division 1 is different than Division 2. Division 3 has more rules than either one of the other two, so that was kind of just trying to get out all the information that I needed for it. So basically what happens is they put my name in a portal. They have some information, what position I play, what my major is. If I choose to put my GPA on there, that's also on there. And then, like I said, I stayed in the transfer portal for the full semester just so that college coaches can then reach out to me, send me emails, get
Right.
my number, shoot me a text, give me a phone call. Coaches could invite me to ID camps at the time. I wasn't, playing soccer for the college that fall of my junior year. So I was completely eligible to go train and work out with other teams. So that whole semester, I visited a couple schools. I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, right in the middle of the city. That was Division 1. I had an awesome visit at Wofford in South Carolina. That's Division 1, very good business program. Um, and by the time December came around, I got an awesome offer from Limestone University, and it was close to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I plan to work in my future. So it just kind of all fell into place right in that month of December. And the coach, he was like, you can come in January and be a part of our team. So that's what I did. So I'm very thankful for the transfer portal. Absolutely. Otherwise I would have just had to, find those connections and reach out completely on my own. So
Yeah, and that's I think the thing is like it's being out there like I mean, you were in a situation, you're close to home and you make it, but the truth is you don't fully know. And then obviously there was coaching things and different like coaching changes that happened when you're there. So like you're there and then you're like, you know, I don't think this is where I want to be for the next 2 years or more, right? Like, you're talking about going into business, and I think most people that go into business, you go into it probably knowing you have to do a master's degree. Like you have to go get your, master's degree in business. And so then you're kind of stuck, and then I think that's what happens is, and then like you're talking about, like typically people are alone in that process, and they're like, where do I go? So yeah, I think having that transfer portal, and honestly, you're probably lucky to have people that were actually helping you out in that process because there's definitely some schools that would have been way worse about that. I think you see that all the time, whether it's,
right.
you
And
know,
I
go ahead.
will say the other thing that was stressful for me was just the timing of when I chose to be in the portal. Had I chosen the summer month, I maybe would have found a school by the fall,
Right,
not
right,
lost any eligibility and gotten to play right away. But I was, trying to transfer during most women's soccer programs competitive seasons.
right.
So coaches aren't looking at that time as specifically for players. So that was one of the struggles that I did come across for sure. But like you said, I had so many connections between helping you coach and assistant coach at nationals and knowing so many
Right.
people and connections and different coaches throughout the state that could help me and kind of put my name out there, send some films. So that all was extremely helpful in my case.
Speaking of film, and speaking of nationals, one thing I figured we would do because I imagine if we talk about some of your best moments, and maybe I'm wrong, but when you think about your youth career,
Mm-hmm.
what is the moment in your mind that sticks out the most to you? Because
Um,
I think I know what it is. And if
are you are you
oh
saying you're saying goal scoring wise?
oh yeah. What a
Because I do have a banger that you can find on YouTube.
hang on, wait 1 second.
Yeah,
Is it this one?
that's the
Let's turn
one.
this
That
off.
is
That way I
the
don't get
one.
copyrighted. Bah, unbelievable. State Cup
Yeah.
for
So I believe that was our state cup semifinal with nationals down at Union. We were playing at Ultimate Soccer Arenas, and that's actually the one game that I missed. That was my season that I was still playing men's football for my high
yep.
school. And so that was the one football game that I had to miss on the whole season so I could play in my state cup semifinal down south. And we ended up winning that game. I'm pretty sure I had a hat trick that game, and that one that you just showed, yeah, that was my teammate Morgan. She sent me a beautiful ball in the air. I caught it off my chest, turned around, volleyed it right in the back of the net, upper 90. So it was a pretty awesome moment, and they ended up putting that video on the Nationals
They
homepage,
did.
and we're kind of talking about it for a while. So that's definitely one of the things that I highlight when I just talk about some of my awesome moments on the field specifically.
So when we're talking about playing, and obviously like we've played together and different things like that, but I think one thing that like I notice about you for sure, like, and we can kind of look at that video, right? Is like when I coach the like the girls game in youth, and one of the things that is just usually staggeringly bad is the play in the air, right? And in the women's game, but it's the difference with you is that is one of the I think that is one of your biggest strengths is playing in the air. And so what do you think about your game, probably including that, is like sets you apart from different people?
Well, I'll definitely agree with what you just said. I've watched and been around and played a lot of soccer, and it sounds bad to say, but I really don't think that the majority of girls in this country or within this program like getting the ball in the air.
No.
Whereas I have always been that player that loves it. I scored at Northwood so many goals off of headers. I think my freshman year I had 10 goals, and the majority of them were headers. In that game, obviously that was off the chest in the air. I used to be the person that would go out and juggle all the time just to get better touches on the ball and get a better feel for what it's like to catch a ball in the air.
Right.
And so I definitely think that's one of my strengths, and I've heard that from so many coaches that have seen me play and seen me perform on that field. And I think that it's just one of the things we've been lacking in women's sports lately, and we just need to get better at it, because that's one of the things that I really try to push myself at and just really try to be very good at. Getting that corner kick and just being able to head it in the back of the net is so much easier than bringing it down, picking a corner,
Right.
kicking it. So, and sometimes you just get lucky. Sometimes it bounces off any part of your body in the air and you score. So that's definitely one of the things that I do pride myself in, for sure.
For sure. And I mean, and has me thinking like two different directions here. So I'll just start with this. Is like I think about when you say that, like the women's game and different things like that. It makes me think of like a player like Abby Wambach, who I get it, everyone loves, and she deserves it. But I think when you look at someone like that, she was not as good of a actual player as most of the players that she was held up to, right? Like the standards.
Mm-hmm.
But what set her apart was like her ability to go win things in the air, and like you're saying, winning so many like headers and stuff like that, getting goals. That's what she did, and like her ability to go do that is what set her apart. So like, and I'm not saying that that's where you are, where you can't play technically with other players. She wasn't as good technically as other players, but like her athletic ability mixed in with like that kind of, I guess, courage is like in the air sets you apart. And like when you're the only girl doing it, it's usually going to lead to some success,
I'm telling
right?
you, being able to win that 50-50 ball in the air off of a punt, off of a kick, off of a corner kick, all of that stuff, it just sets the rest of your teammates up in a great position going forward.
For sure. And then and the other part of this, and it makes me think about this because obviously we've talked about you playing football, and then you've played with us. Do you think that because obviously heading the ball, the ball in the air is super common in the men's game, probably too common to the point it's just because you get a bunch of people that are just like, let's launch the ball forward, right? And that's very common. Do you think that like your experience in like being around the boys and being around like playing with guys, you think that that's kind of a big reason why you play that type of style?
So it's funny that you say that, because I guess I've never thought of it like that, but absolutely. Yeah. I do agree with that statement. Like you said, I've gotten so many opportunities to play both futsal indoors or outdoors, at different colleges and things like that with you and some of your guys, some of the coaches from nationals for sure. I've actually gotten to play with some guys, professional players out here, both in Raleigh, North Carolina, and when I played for a semi-pro team in Virginia Beach.
Right.
So I think that I've just been playing around and with the guys for so long, and obviously height is a big differential, when it comes to the guys, and I just don't like losing. I have such a competitive mindset all the time that whatever it takes to get that, header over one of the guys or shove somebody to the side. I mean, I've been bullying some guys every once in a while, and I'm not going to name any names on the podcast, but Colin Weber,
Dang.
So yeah, I definitely think, getting to play both my sports with the men and kind of seeing their competitive attitudes and how they play and some of their success has definitely driven me to be more that way as well.
Yeah, and I think you can definitely see it because, like, I think in anything you do, right, like if you can be the outlier and still work within the framework of what you're doing, right, you don't, it's good to be different, right, but, like, if you're so outside the box that you're not even doing the thing that's, you're supposed to be doing, then it gets to be a little bit different. But, like, if you're able to be the outlier no matter what it is, you tend to be the one that kind of shines because, like, you're going to look at the thing that's a little bit different. And then if within that being different you have success, it's like, oh, this person's a superstar. And like that's kind of, I feel like that's something that's definitely worked for you, where like you're looking at these girls and yeah, you can play nice and tidy stuff, whatever it is, and then you have, Ashton Brooks coming in, and like she can, you have the finesse to finish and stuff like that, but like when it comes down to it, yeah, you're gonna bulldoze a girl over, you're gonna truck a girl on your way to winning a header, whatever it is. It's like, oh, that's different.
Yes.
And that's something I try to like talk to my players about, is like, you don't need to be, every other player and have the skill set of every other player. You need to find whatever skill set you have and just like run with it. And
Right.
and so I think that's something that you did. Like you know your weaknesses, you try to improve upon them. But
Right. And I will say, I've always kind of known that I'm sort of built strong,
yeah,
for a female. So, bodying girls off the ball and kind of
for
holding on
sure.
to it for a while has always been one of my strong suits. One of the things that I think comes naturally and very easy to me, and maybe that technical stuff isn't as easy, and so that's why I continue to work on it
For
all the
sure.
time. But it's really just getting down to the nitty gritty and doing the dirty work, and that in itself will set you apart.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just a like, it's a different little mindset that you have to have. And it is funny because obviously LJ, and we had him on here. We talked about this. Like, I think you guys come from, a little bit similar. Obviously, you guys did things differently, but I think you have similar. The ways that you were brought up and like did things was similar, in that like Midland is not known as that like dig deep and grind out things. It's like, I paid lots of money to be really good, and I
Yeah.
want I want top tier everything, right? And
Yeah.
and so it is funny in that way, because like that's the way that you were. What? Why do you think? And obviously, there's the obvious comparison between you and LJ, but like, what is it you think mainly that living in Midland didn't like take away that like desire to like work harder, dig deep, no matter what? What do you think that was?
I feel like obviously, I've lived in Midland my whole life. I've had my ups and downs with the city. I've had my ups and downs in the sport career and that kind of stuff, and like I said, I honestly didn't play in Midland for as long as I could have. I think I moved down to Waza and went down south maybe my sophomore year of high school. And I truly think that's probably where I got a lot of the competitive environment, atmosphere, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are some people in Midland, some fantastic coaches. I had the same coach for my travel team for a lot of years when I was in Midland, and he is awesome. His daughter now plays at Alma, and I just cannot thank the coaching staff enough. Midland has some awesome fields. That complex is beautiful. And I just think it's, the drive to be better. LJ and I both, we didn't come from the same place that a lot of people in Midland did, where everything was handed to us, where we just always had money, where, and so I think that's one of the things that him and I both have in common, where we wanted to fight for what we wanted. We wanted to be successful, and we wanted to grind for it. We wanted to work our asses off and do well. So
Right.
that's definitely one of the things that him and I both gained from growing up in that city, for sure.
Yeah. And I would probably do this conversation a disservice without asking, but like, I mean, the obvious, thing that you guys share is that you are both not white, and you're in Midland, which is predominantly, rich upper class white
Right.
people, and especially playing a sport that, granted, in Midland you have some different cultures because of Dow, but like the people that can attain, travel soccer and stuff like that are not the same. And obviously, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but in your sports career, you did definitely deal with some adversity, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But what was that like in Midland, being a girl as well, because that is completely different, and dealing with that in Midland? Did it cause you problems?
So it was very hard for me, being an African American woman growing up in Midland, Michigan. I think it was difficult.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. I don't think everything was bad. I
Yeah.
think that I'm very privileged to grow up where I did. Like you said, there's so many opportunities. There's so many
Yeah,
great
for
people.
sure.
I made so many awesome friendships, and have met some fantastic people in Midland. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of going more towards the football thing and the racial discrimination and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that I went through, and it's unfortunate. And I think it kind of helped me become the person I am today. I kind of realized how other people think, how other people treat me, but I also have always had a lot of pride being, one of the only African American females on a soccer team, getting to play
Right.
travel soccer in Midland, Michigan, go down south, be competitive, go to Florida and play at, Disney World, and go to Iowa and all these different travel adventures, and all of that was earned.
Right, for
My
sure.
mom doesn't have $1 million to spend on me playing sports, but that was what I wanted, and I wanted to be good at it. I wanted to be competitive, and so we made it work. You know, and I just think that, like you said, LJ and I both are African Americans that grew up in a very not diverse environment, and both of us are now down south and kind of getting to see some more diversity and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I absolutely think that just being there and being around that and kind of seeing how others have grown up has helped me become the person I am today and really learn from those experiences. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's something that we've talked about in here, and off camera and off the podcast, like Cam and I and different people. But it's like, you know, nothing against the people in our club or anything like that, or any of the kids or anything like that. But we would love for there to be, you know, to see, a couple different faces that don't look exactly the same. We would like to have a couple more black kids. We'd love to have, Latinos and Latinas and stuff like that in the club, because there's not in travel soccer. You see them playing
Right.
soccer. They are playing soccer, but they're playing, you know, at Saginaw, in Bay City, maybe in Midland as well. But like it doesn't. My guess is, one, it's not as accessible. Two, because we know that, because travel soccer is way too expensive, and that's especially high level, right? Like, I think you see more of it like low level travel soccer, where it's $300 for the year or something like that. Yeah, you can manage that. But like when we're talking about the type of travel soccer that we both did, right? Like, and
Mhm.
obviously I'm as white as it gets. Like, I haven't had, and quarantine's been rough. I haven't had a tan in a while. But I mean, I come from the same economic situation that you did, where like I was poor. Like, I know that. Like, I was joking around with someone last night. Like, we were talking about school lunches. I was like, I don't know. I didn't have to pay for those, because I was like,
Right.
that's the benefit of being poor. You don't got to pay for your
Right.
lunch. But so like, but we still came from this like, like this, where we were like, we're gonna play travel soccer, and parents are like, all right, we're gonna make it happen because it's what you really want to do,
Right.
knowing that there's a lot of people that just can't even do that because it's so expensive. So it's a tough thing, and it is. I think it's definitely, obviously it was terrible what happened with at Dow for you with the football team, with the thing. Obviously, very mature about it, like the way that you've been able to really kind of use it as fuel and different things like that. Um, but the one thing I think that really probably came from it is like it put you on a different platform, and people got to see this young African American girl from a white town, a very predominantly white town, succeeding not only in female sport, right, but also against males as well. And so I think that it's just a really cool thing where you're able to do that. Obviously, you have to go through some stupid shit to get there, but like it all together, like you were able to become something a little bit bigger because of something like that. So I think that, like, that in itself is pretty cool.
And like I said, I take so much pride in being, a black girl from Midland,
Right.
because I have become so successful. I have done so many things in my
Right.
career. I've gotten so many opportunities to do so many things, career wise, business wise, soccer wise, all from Midland, Michigan. And just being able to be a face for other, little black girls that want to participate in
For
these
sure.
male dominant sports, or in these, expensive sports and all this kind of stuff. Like, I just am glad to say that I did that. It can be done. And so you can do it too. And so definitely from the football experience, I don't really want to go into full details
Yeah,
on
for
what
sure.
happened on your podcast,
You
but
can
of
read
course,
on it USA Today, so you're fine.
yeah, right. Just at LA Times, New York Times, you can read all about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, when that situation happened, it was an eye opener. It kind of sucked, I felt like the community that I had lived in my whole life, one person said something ignorant and it just kind of went crazy. It ended up on all kinds of national news stories, but at the end of the day, my friends, my family, my community stood behind me and they
Right.
supported me, and it definitely helped me to just learn now. Now I'm at my senior year in college and I want to be an entertainment director for a professional football team, and I
Right.
want to host kicking camps for girls. I've done so many motivational speaking things, talk about my story, talk about my experiences. I've hosted kicking camps at different elementary schools and that kind of thing.
Right.
So on my end, everything that came out of that was positive. And obviously all the Black Lives Matter protests and walks and things are going on in our country right now, and it's just like, I see my story happened 4 years ago.
Right.
And now 4 years later, the public is seeing and recognizing and trying to learn and trying to get educated. So it's happening very slow, but it's happening. We're having that discussion now, and that's all I could ask for.
For sure. And I guess something I've always wondered, like you growing up in Midland, like that's your hometown, and then this happens. Did you feel that type of like negative energy prior to that, or was that when it really like was opened up to your eyes?
I'm going to be honest. Because I grew up in Midland and, my father wasn't really in the picture.
Right.
I grew up with my white mother and my brothers. I feel like there was a lot of ignorant instances and
Okay.
situations that might have happened throughout my career that I just didn't catch on. I didn't notice right
Right.
away because, I was always accepted by my friends and my family and my coworkers and that kind of stuff because I've just been there forever. But then when that happened, honestly, when I first read it and saw that post, I was like, oh, that sucks. Because I just
Yeah.
still hadn't really fathomed the intensity of what she had said to me.
Right.
So then, the whole city backed me up and was behind me and
Right.
supported me. I was playing on 2 travel soccer teams at the time, so I missed a football practice, and my coach called the whole football team in for a meeting with my younger brother because he was a freshman and he was playing JV. He was going to playoffs with us. And my coach said, you know what, at the end of the day, we are going to back up Ashton. We are going to support her. That is our kicker. That is our teammate. So we are going to be there for her and whatever she needs, because
for sure.
Though we don't understand it, we're going to respect her,
Yeah.
And that was like, that in itself was just so awesome to me, to have that kind of support and love and caringness from my team and my coaches and my teachers and that kind of stuff. So, like I said, I guess I hadn't realized before that happened how bad it is in this country, not just in Midland, Michigan.
Right.
But like I said, I think we're getting better. We're taking the steps that we need to.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, right? Like, and I think it's not just Midland, like you said, but like when we talk about Midland and I say like it is predominantly white and different things like that, like I don't mean that to say like Midland's some racist shithole, because it's not. It's not. There's
Right.
there's a lot of good things, but there are a lot of perceived notions about Midland. Some are right, some are not so right. I think the arrogance is definitely one that's right, but I would say that it's not. I think it is. I think that actually Midland is probably unfairly, talked about when it comes to the fact that there is actually quite a bit of diversity when you really look at it, just because of all the imports that you have of people that work at Dow and that
Dow
move.
Chemical, correct?
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think that's the same. I think I do think that there is a lot of that in the United States, where like there is pockets where, and I'm not saying pockets. I think there's too much of what you dealt with going on, but there is also a lot of good things even within that. But we have to get rid of, like, that doesn't mean we don't need to get rid of the shit, right? Like, you still
Right.
you gotta get rid of that stuff, but like there is good stuff too, and it's the same thing for Midland. It's a nice place. It's not the most fun place to be. It's kind of, I think.
I will say it is not a college town.
No. I think it was ranked the most boring city in Michigan or something like that. Yeah. But that's okay. That's okay. But now you're out of Midland, so I want to talk about that a little bit and what that's is how much different going from Midland, which is not a small town, but it's not a big town, and then going all the way across the country, basically. What's that experience been like?
Okay, so I will say my first time really being outside of Midland was when I started my internship at Virginia Beach Fieldhouse in
Right.
Virginia Beach. So I was there for about 4 months, and that obviously is like a melting pot, you know. So I got to experience so many different cultures and all kinds of things just
Right.
being out there that was so different than where I grew up. You know, it was such a bigger city. I was in a 6-person apartment right on the beach, just about, you know, there was so much more to do than Midland had to offer. I was playing on a semi-pro team out there with Virginia Beach City FC. Got to meet a lot of the professional men's side of it too, and have
Right.
made some awesome friendships and that kind of stuff from that program. And it just, you know, I think that being out there was kind of why I came back and wanted to
Yeah.
transfer from Northwood. I think a lot of people thought it had to do with, you know, the soccer team and this and that and other reasons, but it really was just I was close to home. I wanted to be a little bit farther. I loved the diversity and the experience that I got being in Virginia, and I wanted to keep it going.
Right.
So now, you know, I live in South Carolina, Gaffney, South Carolina. So I'm about an hour from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a couple hours from Atlanta. I'm a couple hours from Myrtle Beach. So I'm in a really good central location
Okay.
to kind of see and experience a lot of different things. And I will say the weather is the biggest game changer for me. You know, I transferred out here, and I was coming from 4 feet of snow in Michigan, and I came out here and it's 95 degrees and we're playing on turf every day.
Yep.
And I'm like
Yep.
dying of sweat, you know? So the weather is different. The people, I feel like Southern hospitality is absolutely a thing. You know, we up north, we don't say the yes, ma'am, no, sir, that kind of stuff. Down here, they're very, very polite in that aspect. I think I've met some awesome friends that just are here to support me till the end.
Right.
And I just think, you know, I'm getting more well-rounded. I've had that experience in Midland. I've had that experience in Virginia Beach. I now have this experience here getting to play for my college and hopefully get some career opportunities coming up with graduation here. And I love it. You know, if I can do it now when I'm young and in school, why not take up the opportunity?
No,
So
for sure. And so this is, I think you're probably a great person to ask this to. Is that when like I talk to like my older girls, right? And I'm talking to them about college. One thing I tell them is like you the first thing that you should look at is not even the academics. It's not even the soccer. It's like, is that a place that you want to be for 4 years? Because no matter how good the academics are or how good the soccer is, if you spend most of the time just not doing any of those things, and so if that's where you're going to be for 4 years, it's, you know, and you're miserable, it's not going to last. And
right.
so I imagine that's kind of what you do 2 years of like being close to home, and you were just looking for a better experience for you, right? Like college is short, right? It's when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's short. It's a short time. It feels long as hell when you're doing it, but it's a short time. And so I imagine it's just like, all right, I need to be somewhere that I like more, and I need better experiences for my life in this period.
Yes, I will say I really lucked out ending up at Limestone. I did really just fit in the palm of my hand. It was perfect for me. Somebody was looking down upon me when I made the decision, because I had visited so many schools when I was in the transfer portal. Like I had mentioned earlier, I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, and that's, you know, closer to home, big school, D1, all that, you know, was great. But I felt like I wasn't going to school. I felt like I was already a business professional. I was in the middle of Chicago, you know, I
Yeah.
just didn't feel like I was getting the education that I wanted.
Right.
So then I, you know, came out to South Carolina. I visited Wofford. Wofford is, again, a D1 school, awesome, great facilities, great coach. I have a friend that plays on the team over there, was super excited, but it wasn't the diversity that I was looking for. It was kind of similar to Midland. It just wasn't the right fit for me.
Right.
So then I had come back to Michigan, and I wasn't sure what decision I was going to make at the end of my portal. And coach from Limestone reached out to me, and the city is like perfect. It's a small atmosphere for me, so I can still focus on my academics.
Right.
We have fantastic facilities. We have turf fields and great field houses and locker rooms and all that kind of stuff, which I love. This community is very welcoming. I've gotten to do 2 internships already in Gaffney, and gotten to work at one of the local shops nearby and on campus and that kind of stuff. And it just is very welcoming. Everyone is happy that I'm here. And I think that just since it's such a college town, everyone in Gaffney loves Limestone students. They're so supportive of the Saints and our program and what we're doing as students and student athletes. And it just is an awesome experience for me, for sure. And I think I would have really enjoyed doing 4 years here versus a year and a half. So
For
I
sure.
do love it so far. And that's kind of why, like we mentioned earlier, that I will actually be starting my master's online in the fall. I have a couple of years left of eligibility, so I'll kind of try to play them out however long I can and see what my next step is.
Yeah,
So
no, that's awesome. So I mean, I and that's kind of my point, and like, so I'm glad to hear that. It sounds like that's kind of what, especially after kind of getting a redo, right? Like, and so you said, like, if you could do 4 years, you would. You didn't, but and that's okay. And to be fair, you may end up doing 4 years there by the time all said and done. But
right.
but yeah, I think anybody, I don't know how many kids or parents with kids that are going to play college sports, or like, because it doesn't have to be soccer, but let's be honest, it's probably soccer. If you're listening to this, nobody else is listening. Nobody else is listening to this. Like, it's got to be about the experience. It's got to be about where you're gonna be good to be, because like, things aren't always great. Like, things get tough. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm a bitch. It's all good. Like, I left home for the first time in my life. Went to college. I cried for like 3 nights. Not because I needed anything, but I was just like, what the hell is going on? I am so far from home. Like, this is awful. And I did. I ended up being fine. I loved it. I loved my time that I spent where I was. But it's tough because you're like, I've always had mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever it is. And it's different for other people, but you always have these people that you can, like, all right, this shit's tough. Can I have some help? And they're like, yeah, I got you. And then you go there and it's like, can I have some help? And then nobody answers because there's nobody else around. Like,
Well, and I don't want you to think that it was all butterflies and
right.
dandelions for me, because absolutely not. As soon as I got to Gaffney, I'm not going to lie to you, there were some tears on my end as well.
For sure.
My mom had a hotel for about 4 days. I spent the first 4 days of my college here crying, spent every night at the hotel
Yeah.
with her. Didn't know anyone, barely knew my coach, had never visited the school before I
Yeah.
even came and signed on. So it came with some growing pains. It did,
No,
absolutely.
for sure. And that's kind of my point, is like, that's going to happen to everybody. So imagine if you do that, you have that, that rough go at it when you first get there, because most people do. I mean, obviously, maybe you didn't have it at Northwood when you're literally 10 minutes away from home, but
Right.
like everyone kind of has that when you go away. So imagine if you do that, and then at the end of the day, you don't actually even like being there either. Oh, that's awful. But if, like, all right, this is tough. It doesn't suck because I don't really have any clue what's going on yet. I'm just like terrified of. I'm a kind of almost an adult now, and this is terrifying, right? But then you're like, oh, but now I remember why I'm here. I like this. I can go do that. All right, I'm making friends now.
Right,
Great.
right.
Oh, this is great. This is awesome. Love this. It makes it so
Right.
much. It makes it so much easier at the end of the day.
Well, and I guess like my biggest concern, the biggest difference for me being here versus being in Virginia Beach is when I was in Virginia, I knew I would be there for 4 months in the summer. I would get to play semi-pro soccer. I would be working my job, and then I would get to come back to Northwood and be back close to home and in my
Right.
city,
Right.
Whereas when I came out to Gaffney, it's a completely different atmosphere. I had already transferred once, and so for those of you that don't know, when you transfer Division II for women's soccer, you only get one transfer. I can't transfer again and play and keep my eligibility. That's
Right.
not a thing. So it was like, I'm here now. I made this decision. I have to stick with it, or I'm either A, not going to play soccer in college again, or B, I'm not going to graduate on time because, I made this decision now. So it was like, suck it up, Ashton. You've barely even given it a shot or a chance yet. Take some time, breathe a little bit, and now I'm, a year in, and I really do love it. I will say the hard part is I have to fly home or drive 12 to 14 hours. That's a little bit frustrating and stressful, but I'm doing so well here. I've met so many great people here that they kind of make it feel like home for me.
Yep, and that's what it's about. It's just so that, and I'm glad to hear that for sure. So I want to pivot a little bit because we've talked a lot about the college and different things like that, and we've
Hmm.
alluded to the semi-pro stuff. And I want to kind of like, how do you get those out? Like, where did that opportunity to go play at? Like, because that's different. That's a completely different thing from, playing college and doing different things like that. How's that opportunity come about?
So I've now played on two semi-pro women's soccer teams.
Yep.
My first one was Michigan Legacy down in Brighton, Michigan, and my
Yep.
second one VB City in Virginia Beach. So I will say the way that I got connected with Legacy was kind of just through my travel teams and being down
Right.
south, and knowing players that have done it and played there. And obviously, one of the things to keep in mind is if you're playing collegiate soccer, you can't get paid, you can't get things purchased or bought for you,
Boo.
obviously. So that kind of sucked, but it was like a summer team, a summer program for me to stay fit, stay in shape. So I drove down to Brighton at the beginning of the summer. I, reached out to the coach, asked for if I could try out. He gave me a 1 day tryout. I did well, and he was like, "Yeah, if you want to keep training and be with us for the summer, awesome, no problem." So I kind of drove down there as many times as I could throughout the summer and got to play with them and play some competitive games in the summertime. And that was I want to say a WPSL team with Michigan Legacy.
Yep.
So, and then I went out to Virginia Beach, and I knew that, I wanted to keep playing, stay fit, stay in shape. And so I actually found a team in the area, again, reached out to the coach, said, "Hey, can I come train, try out, that sort of thing?" He said, "For sure, give it a shot." And I was the only girl from Michigan, and the coaches loved me, which was just great. It was a great fit for me.
Right.
A lot of the girls on the team play at either Hampton University or Old Dominion University because those were both very close.
Right.
The men's team was a men's professional team, so
Yep.
I got to meet a lot of the guys over there and play and train with them, and it just was a way for me to stay in shape and that kind of stuff throughout the summer months. So it was an awesome opportunity, an awesome experience, and those kind of set you up more for maybe doing a professional career, signing a contract in your future, and that kind of stuff. But for me, at first, it was really just a way to stay in shape and stay fit. And I think from playing in those teams, I kind of realized my potential and see how far I really could take the soccer route. So
And I guess going off that, I kind of wonder that, like, after having that experience, right? Does that did that make, and I don't, and it's not an easy journey, but did that make you want to pursue stuff after college and like continue your playing?
So I always played soccer because I loved it. I knew I was good
Right.
at it, loved playing it, loved my coaches, all my friends did it. So why not keep it going,
Right.
And now that I've played at two different colleges,
Yeah.
I've done a ton of ID camps. I've played for two semi pro teams. Like I said, I realized my potential, and I definitely think that that could be an opportunity for me. And I don't know yet all the full ins and outs and routes and who I need to contact to maybe
Right.
get some of those tryouts or connections made. But if that opportunity was presented to me, I absolutely would take up on it because I would love to keep playing and see how far I could take it and see how successful I could get within my soccer career. Obviously, I will always have backups career wise, when it comes to jobs and that sort of position.
Right.
But if I could keep playing and stay in shape and just do what I love and get paid for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
who the hell would turn that down?
That's what I'm saying. If I could stay in shape, that'd be great. Um, but no.
We all struggle with it. We all struggle with it.
Yeah, some worse than others. Me. But no. So I guess with that, if let's just say, and obviously I think highly of you and your potential and all that stuff. But let's say that that doesn't happen, right? As far as the professional route goes, do you think that you see yourself um, still continuing to play, if even if it means like doing just like whatever it is, like a league, like a summer league or those type of things? Could you see yourself doing that kind of stuff though?
I'm telling you right now, if I don't sign a professional contract, these other rec teams, summer leagues, adult leagues, they will see my name on every single one of their
Awesome.
rosters because I love the game. I
Right.
love playing. I've put so much time and effort
Right.
and energy into being a good, successful soccer player that, if the professional side doesn't work out for me, okay, but I'm still going to be kicking some ass on that field and
That's
scoring as
awesome.
many goals as I can until I can't move anymore.
And that
So,
and that's great. And that's like what, like, as I've transitioned, right, like to the coaching realm, like that's really, like, for me, like that's like the greatest thing to hear. Obviously, I'm not saying I coach you, but like my players, for me, like I at this point, love my players. I'm not going to have anyone that is going to be in your position where they might be playing professional, but I have plenty of players that are in positions to go play college. And so, like, to have someone who has a lot of opportunities and is like, I want to continue playing regardless, like, that's what we want, right? Like, we want to build this, like, passion for the game and love and, like, build this culture of, like, fans at the end of the day, right? Like, we love this people that just love the sport. Um, so that's really cool because, like, obviously we kind of built a small little thing here of people that we're not going anywhere to do this. Obviously, we have coaches, so, like, technically we kind of are we're still within the game and we get paid to do it, which is amazing. Um, but we're not playing anymore in terms of, like, real competitive stuff. But yeah, we love the game, so we want to just keep playing, right? Like that was a lot of
right.
your training for a long time. It's just because.
Right. Well, and I will say, when I was in Virginia, and like I said, I got to meet some of those professional men's team players and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff, as well as some of the girls that have career goals to be successful and keep soccer going. I've known so many guys that are 25, 26 and still trying to play in the MLS, and they're going to training and doing this and that at different colleges and universities and just pick up with their guys and
Right.
futsal. And every opportunity that I get to do that, I am out there with them, right
Yeah, for
next to
sure.
them, trying to play, get my name out there, and just do it because I have so much fun with it.
Yeah.
And I know so many players that are getting paid just to play in a 90-minute soccer game right now. I do it for free,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Right. I pay.
But
I pay to do it. So, like.
yeah, right. And so I that opportunity would be amazing
Right.
for me. And I know Limestone has sent a couple players to different professional teams, both men and women's side.
Okay.
So I just think being out here in South Carolina and close to Charlotte, where they now have a women's professional team and
Yeah, for sure.
that kind of thing, I think I'm just in a good spot to maybe gain some opportunities and
Yeah.
gain some connections from it.
And so I guess the other question on this I have, because obviously you're someone that at first didn't want to really leave, but now that you've experienced it, like, you enjoy that. And obviously with the women's game, the money is in America as of right now, for the most part. There's no doubt about it. But the opportunities are probably
Are elsewhere.
outside the United States. The bigger opportunities, as are more opportunities are outside the United States. Is that some? Do you think it would take an opportunity within the United States to come open for you to do it, or do you think you would consider something outside the United States?
I think that any opportunity I get, I would definitely look into it and just be
Right.
completely open-minded. I actually will be going on my first trip out of the country in May, right after graduation. I'll go to Peru for about 10 days. So that'll be an awesome experience for me. And like I said, I'm young right now.
Right.
I only have one life. So if I have the opportunity to go travel somewhere else and see another country and see how other people live,
For sure.
I'm so, like, all for it, all for everything, but at the same time, if the Chicago Red Stars were to offer me a position tomorrow, am I going to turn it down? Heck no. My
Yeah.
mom could actually see me play games then if they're
Right.
that close,
Good.
But I don't know, any sort of opportunity that I can get to keep playing, whether it's in the States, outside of the States. I know there's a lot of issues with the money side of it and women not getting paid enough and this and that, but like I said, I'm not getting paid at all right now, but it's fun for me,
Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
I would definitely take up on it, whether it was, wherever.
And that's awesome because I think that's a massive debate within, like, especially, like, the U.S. soccer sphere or whatever, is, like, this whole, like, it's mainly on the men's game that we talk about, but it is on the women's side too, because it's actually not talked about enough on the women's side with, like, players not going overseas, or staying, what to do, will I get opportunities if I leave? Am I going to get like blackballed? Because that's actually something that's happened in the women's game a little bit with the U.S. women's national team. For a little while there, they wouldn't take players that were playing overseas, and now that the game is kind of evolving more over there, it's nice to see that you have a lot of players going overseas. But on the men's side, I think is where we see it the most, where you know the MLS is there, and if you're good enough, really you can or the USL, like you can do it. But what ends up happening is like you have these opportunities, and probably a better opportunity to one, develop and like further your career if you go overseas. But they're just like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so like and people are like, nah, I don't want to be that far away. But it's like it's refreshing to hear that, like, look, I'm young, like I can come back home at any time, right? Like that's the thing, home's always there. So like
Right.
go take whatever opportunity you have. If it's really what you love, go do it. And so it's obviously something we're seeing way more often now, which is great. And so it's even cooler to hear that as a female, that you have that same type of mindset. Again, you got the male soccer mindset in the female game. Again, we just keep going back to this. So no, I think that's really cool, and I think it's important. I think it's something that I say is just like you have to constantly be good with being uncomfortable, but never so uncomfortable that you're miserable, right? And so like there's no point in doing anything that makes you miserable, but like you got to become uncomfortable, because like if you're comfortable, you don't get better, right? You just you just stay the same. And so like it's okay that I cried for a few days when I left. I was uncomfortable, I was scared, right? Like same with you. It's okay that you're like that, because like, but it gets better, right? Because I put myself in there. You give yourself the little like look myself in the mirror, tell myself to suck it up, and like it's gonna be okay, and just deal with it, right? And I think if you have that mentality and you're just willing to kind of constantly be in that like uncomfortable state, you just continue to improve. So that's really cool.
You got to shoot your shot, because you never know when you're going to hit a chester and volley it in the back of the net.
That's right. That's it. Might win some things. I most likely won't, because I don't score goals. But in life, I shoot my shots all the time, just in general. But soccer, we maybe once a season. We're at way different ends of the pitch for sure. So. Ashton, I think.
Yeah, you have had me on some lockdown defense before. I'm not gonna lie. Let the fans know.
Right. You're damn right I did.
But I've also put some good ones in the back of the net on you. So.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this: you made the comment about bullying people. I am not one of those people she's bullied. Just so we're clear, so all the fans can know, I don't get bullied. That is the one thing. I might suck, and I'll whatever. If anyone wants to say that, whatever. Cool. I'm not getting bullied though.
Look, the ones watching this, they know who they are. They got my number. They know who they are.
That's right.
They can call me if they need some ankles broken.
That's right. Ash, we could talk all day about this. I'm extremely proud of you. I'm extremely excited to see what you do at Limestone. Extremely excited to see all the things you do beyond that as well. I appreciate you coming on, having a chat, and I really just appreciate the fact that a lot of people that maybe didn't know you now know you from this, and I'm sure they'll make sure to watch some Limestone games as well.
Well, and Kyle, thank you so much just for having me on the show. Obviously I love talking about my experiences. I'm glad I got to catch up with you, and I hope you enjoyed your holidays for sure. Try not to stay too bored out in Michigan on the lockdown and stuff. And you know where I'm at if you ever want to, lose some ankles. So just let me know. I'll be here. But again, I do really appreciate it. I think that this is an awesome thing you're doing with the podcast and just getting so many people's names and experiences out there. So it'll be awesome for you for sure. I'm glad I got to be here today.
Absolutely. Before we sign off, anything that where can people kind of like see you and all the things that you're doing?
Well, I have every form of social media under the sun. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all that stuff. So I think Ashton Brooks 14 is most of my accounts, or Ashbro 14. So go ahead and follow me on there. Obviously, I'll be at Limestone. This is my last semester. So if you just go on the Limestone women's soccer page and just kind of get to catch up and see what we're doing, we're supposed to have 6 spring games this semester. So hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it works out for us. And definitely that's where you can keep up with me for sure.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll make sure I'll put all those down below as well. So again, thank you, Ashton. Good luck to you and Limestone. And this has been really fun. This has been Tactical Foul. I'm Kyle Grew. Ashton Brooks. See you later. Peace.